Well, after 4 years of limbo, Apple has finally launched an iPad Pro model that makes sense considering what it can actually do now. This, of course, is all thanks to iPadOS 26 and the years of development that took place behind the scenes to give the iPad in general more Mac-like capabilities while retaining its inherent iPad-ness and not just turning it into a touchscreen Mac. So in this video, I'm going to give you a sort of initial review of the iPad Pro with M5 here and go over the smaller but notable changes with this spec bump model, the M5 chip's performance and context, and how iPadOS 26 specific features and workflows can finally take advantage of this tablet's serious horsepower and hardware. First up, let's go over the smaller changes I just mentioned. To begin with, there's a tiny design change on the back to the M5 model's chassis. There's no more iPad Pro branding, so it's slightly cleaner now, I guess. Anyway, there's also new connectivity hardware inside, specifically the iPhone Air's C1X modem and N1 chip. The C1X modem delivers roughly 50% faster cellular data performance compared to the previous gen Qualcomm modems, so this results in faster 5G and LTE connectivity for those who can take advantage of that. The N1 chip specifically handles Bluetooth 6, Thread, and most notably Wi-Fi 7 connectivity, which is apparently 30 to 50% faster compared to Wi-Fi 6E on the same network. So again, important for those who can take advantage of it. What's cool is all this new network stuff draws 30% less power compared to previous gen models, which is really impressive. That's Apple Silicon for you, and also just more efficient network tech in general. Anyway, another notable change is faster internal storage. It's now up to twice as quick read and write-wise, which, paired with the new M5 chip that we'll touch on very soon, improves day-to-day performance while opening, copying, and creating new data, as well as for use as memory swap or free storage that's used as an extension of unified memory or RAM, which is super important for keeping things smooth and chugging along without a hitch. We also, for the first time, get proper fast charging capability on iPad Pro with these M5 models. You can now charge from 0 to 50% in about a half hour with a 60-watt plus power adapter. This is really underrated since iPad Pro definitely doesn't last all day if you're really throwing a lot at it workflow-wise, so proper power users or pros can rejoice. Beyond all that though, for the most part, this iPad Pro looks and feels no different from last year's M4 model, which ain't a bad thing since the hardware jump from M2 to M4 was already huge. So we can continue to enjoy it here, especially these gorgeous tandem OLED 11-inch and 13-inch displays, which is why you should definitely look into enhancing your display experience with a recently updated iPad accessory that I've been using and enjoying for years. This is Paperlike 3. It takes everything people love about writing or drawing on their iPad, the paper-like experience, that pen-on-paper tactile feel we know and love, and refines it even further. It still gives you that satisfying paper-like texture, but now it's even clearer, smoother, and infinitely easier to install. The new Butterfly application system basically eliminates everything that used to make screen protectors like this annoying to install. No dust, no bubbles, no guessing. Just follow the on-screen guide, pull the tabs, and it lines up perfectly every time. Once it's on, the difference is immediate. Paperlike 3 uses their nanodot surface technology, a microtexture that's been tuned for years to get the perfect balance between friction and smoothness, so your Apple Pencil feels precise without wearing down the tip. Anyway, the input with it is ultra responsive. It's designed in Germany, engineered in Switzerland, and every pack comes with 2 protectors so you can use one later, or if you need an extra if you mess up the install, which is going to be way harder with that new Butterfly application system now. So if you use your iPad for work, school, or art, this is the upgrade that makes it feel like a real creative tool. You can grab Paperlike 3 online, on Amazon, and even at Best Buy, and of course I'll leave links in the video description if you're interested in checking it out. Anyway, with the smaller changes out of the way, next up let's talk about the new M5 chip and what it brings to the table here. First up, the chip's unified memory, or RAM, is now up from 8 gigs to 12 gigs with the base, 256 and 512 gig models with binned 9-core variant chips. And just like last year, higher capacity 1TB and 2TB models still get 16 gigs of RAM and an extra CPU core with non-binned M5 chips, both of which offer nice little performance boosts, of course. But again, with these base 9-core models, you get an extra 4 gigs of even faster memory, 153 gigabits per second memory compared to last year's 120 gigabits per second memory, extra bandwidth that definitely doesn't hurt. And when you pair this better, larger amount of memory with, again, faster internal storage for faster memory swap and this new gen chip, All of this should keep things running even more smoothly and help work on or complete tasks more quickly. You get the picture. To probably reiterate, this stacked performance is crucial for more demanding workflows. Every extra gigabyte of unified memory and amount of extra bandwidth matters for real-time usage, renders, exports, etc. The chip also brings a new display engine that supports adaptive sync and 120Hz refresh rates with external displays. This is a huge deal for me because I own a newer 120Hz panel from Dell that I absolutely love and use on a daily basis. So on top of this display engine enabling this inherently higher refresh rate that makes usage so much nicer and more buttery, it also just generally improves the external display experience, smoothing out motion that otherwise was a little more herky-jerky, choppy, or less consistent before. So 60Hz will feel even more like 60Hz while using a Mac, and of course 120Hz will be enabled and on par with what you get from a Mac outputting to a display like my Dell U2725QE here. As for raw chip performance though, looking at some early Geekbench scores, M5 is up to 14% or 1.1 times faster CPU-wise compared to M4, and more notably 30 to 35% faster GPU-wise, which is just insane. But we also gotta factor in how this model compares to the ones you've been hanging on to since 2018 or so, since, you know, not everybody is a chronically online snobby tech YouTuber goblin who upgrades year over year like me. Anyway, looking at previous models, CPU-wise, iPad Pro with M5 was up to 1.7 times faster than 2022's iPad Pro with M2, up to 2 times faster than 2021's iPad Pro with M1, and up to 3.5 times faster than iPad Pro with A12Z and A12X from all the way back in 2020 and 2018. GPU-wise though, the performance gap is even more impressive, with iPad Pro with M5 being roughly 1.6 times faster than iPad Pro with M2, 2.2 times faster than iPad Pro with M1, and up to 4 to 4.3 times faster than iPad Pro with A12Z and A12X respectively. All this to say, this is a huge leap for those of you who again have been hanging on to older models, and rightfully so since we had to wait this long for iPadOS to develop into something that can better utilize the hardware here. We'll of course touch more on iPadOS 26 later in this video. Anyway, while the older models definitely have enough power to push the iPadOS 26 experience, all the CPU and GPU horsepower with M5 is now available for those who really want to best take advantage of the form factor, especially in the GPU department. These 30 to 35% GPU performance gains can be best utilized while playing some demanding games that have lots of detail, advanced lighting, and benefit from high frame rates. Work-wise though, GPU can play a vital role in content creation, work with 3D models or intense layered visuals or compositions, on-device AI or machine learning type workflows, and software development, which is very exciting. I'm personally most excited to use the M5 chip with my own content creation or video and photo editing workflows as the Final Cut experience and other apps continue to evolve. Eventually, I'm hoping that some of my projects can be done completely on the iPad, or at least start on iPad and end up on my Mac. Again though, this is all slowly becoming a reality thanks to updates or changes baked into iPadOS 26, which as promised will be the final broad topic we discuss in this video. If you remember back when the iPad Pro with M4 came out, during my review of it, I asked a very simple question. Is it too ambitious? In other words, was the new powerful hardware like the M4 chip, crazy OLED display, and updated keyboard case too ambitious for the upcoming software or operating system? Well, it was certainly overqualified for iPadOS 17, which was the version it shipped with, but things got worse when my iPad Pro M4 review turned into a short-term, self-fulfilling prophecy. The iPadOS 18 update that was announced a month later at WWDC 2024 was a bit of a wash to say the least. So at the time, and yet again, we had this fantastic hardware launched with software that just could not take advantage of it. This only continued a fairly long, disappointing trend that began with the launch of the unprecedentedly powerful iPad Pro with M1 4 years back. That was also followed with a lackluster version 15 update that underutilized the new Mac-level chip inside, more memory, and mini LED display in the 12.9-inch model. Thankfully though, after 2 more at the time arguably underutilized models and 4 dubs of kicking the iPadOS issues can down the road later, WWDC 2025 finally revealed Apple's answer, or rather love letter, to more advanced iPad users who have begged them for years to make ambitious iPad Pro and even iPad Air hardware make more sense. All of this to say, echoing the intro and title here, the iPad Pro with the M5 is the first iPad Pro to launch with an operating system that truly justifies its existence. There's definitely still more work to do, but this current update is just really spectacular compared to previous, clunkier, less capable, and mature versions before it. A few months back, I released an in-depth, nearly hour-long movie-length video going over why iPadOS 26 reinvents the iPad, so if you need a better understanding of the update, want to learn about the most important new features and why they're so game-changing for the iPad with history and all that, definitely give that a watch. It's linked below. But for the purposes of this video, all I'll say is, again, I'm thrilled at the M5 chip here with that bump in RAM, faster internal storage, better network capabilities, and the rest of the hardware here can actually take advantage of iPadOS 26's features, beginning with its wildly better windowing capabilities. It's not so much about driving the new window mechanics themselves and more so about how the increased performance just makes multitasking with 3 to 4 windows or more and Stage Manager an even better, smoother, and less interrupted experience, especially since there's now more power and memory to share between apps and processes. You also get the menu bar, which, as you may know, gives you Mac-like access to app features, functions, or menu items, which is huge. This improves the experience across the board with simple everyday apps to even more advanced CPU and GPU intensive apps. These apps or workflows often have many features or functions that can now be easily accessed via the menu bar without only relying on buttons or clunkier UI that gets in the way. In other words, you can just do more quickly, all while utilizing the increased M5 chip performance, which is amazing. And much like the Mac, you can now run background tasks while using other apps and features, which is vital if you're rendering or processing a project, file, or whatever else, and need to work on something else while that's happening. Again, you can properly multitask now with all this power available. File management is also improved with the faster internal storage, which again makes reading and writing data or files even more instantaneous. The Wi-Fi and cellular updates with C1X and M1 don't hurt either and can definitely make wireless file transfers even more quick and effective. This is on top of iPadOS 26's improved file management features like superior organization, Mac-like external drive workflow enhancements, and my personal favorite, having a folder in your dock for quick and in some cases drag and drop access to certain files. We also, again, get that 120Hz external monitor support with that new display engine, and as you may already know or can imagine, iPadOS 26's external display experience has been made even better with the more Mac-like windowing and menu bar, which is why I'm so glad the latency or responsiveness is about 1-to-1 with what you're getting with the Mac while plugged into an external display. And last up, with that insane GPU performance boost, again, any on-device AI workflows are going to be much faster. Apps like Matt Bircher's Quick Subtitles, where you can, as the name suggests, very quickly generate subtitles for audio and video files, all on device, will definitely benefit from this improved performance. Pocket Pal AI is another app that can benefit since you can use it to download and run local models and chatbots, etc. Shout out to my buddy Christopher Lawley, arguably one of the world's most prolific iPad and iPad Pro users, for telling me to mention these apps and for reminding me about the fast charging feature that I almost left out in this review. You should check out his channel since he's already posted his own iPad Pro with M5 review, so definitely check that out. Anyway, to sum things up here, while these new M5 models may not be worth upgrading to from an M4 or even an M2 model, it's just so nice to see some refreshed hardware here that can actually be taken advantage of by the software or operating system and apps. Up until just now, for the past 4 years, I've been reviewing or reacting to iPad hardware updates with a sort of grandma-esque "that's nice, honey" kind of mindset, because like many of you, I haven't had some ultra niche iPad workflow and didn't really know where the hell this power, RAM, display goodness, and more was gonna go, because it certainly wasn't being utilized that great with iPadOS 14 through iPadOS 18. Thank God this is no longer the case. So if you're thinking about upgrading from a 2018 or 2020 iPad Pro model with A12X or A12Z, that might be the move this year. And if you're someone who can truly take advantage of the M5 performance boosts up from M1, M2, and even M4 with that 30 to 35% GPU bump specifically, I can give you the green light to upgrade as well. All in all though, I'm just so excited to see the iPad Pro being taken a lot more seriously and look forward to gradually working it more into my personal content creator, media company, project management, and business backend oriented workflows. So stay tuned for that. Also check out my coverage of the MacBook Pro with M5 if you're interested. And of course, more coverage on iPad, iPadOS, iPhone, and more Apple stuff as well. And that about wraps things up here. Huge shout out to Paperlike for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel for the past 5+ years. I've been loving my experience with Paperlike 3, which again is now infinitely easier and less annoying to install. So definitely check it out below if you're interested in picking one up. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.